The best way to respond to objections is with curiosity. I think you have to welcome them. And when I say objection, I don't mean I'm not interested, stop contacting me. I mean, I don't really have the budget for that, or I'm not sure if I can get approval for that. Because your prospect is honoring you with like that trust and honesty of being willing to admit that there's a hurdle. So I'm a massive fan of approaching objections from a standpoint of curiosity to see if we can figure out a way together to get to that, that shared positive outcome, which is overcoming the objection and hopefully getting a deal done. Ooh, best advice for LinkedIn outreach is be a human. Maybe. I know that probably sounds obvious, but what I am seeing a lot of on LinkedIn right now is folks leaning into automation, but leaning into it in a way that allows them to do the bad stuff at scale. So instead, counteroffer, use automation to free up time so that you can be more human, more intentional, more strategic, instead of simply using it to scale the stuff that's already not working. I think the worst sales interactions that I've ever had probably were earlier in my career when folks would call me sweetie, honey, babe. I know you guys can't see Rita's face, but she's cringing. I think those were the worst sales interactions I had, and not just because it is so gross and totally inappropriate to call somebody in any setting, particularly a professional setting, sweetie, honey, babe, but because in my 20s, I didn't have yet the confidence to say, that's not appropriate. That makes me uncomfortable to call out the bad behavior. So it was, I like just took it. And that's a really crappy interaction. I've reached a level in my career where folks just don't speak to me the way that they spoke to me when I was younger, or my hope, my desperate hope is that we are evolving, and it's just not happening as much. But I certainly see it less often. And when I do see it, I have absolutely no problem calling people out on their bad behavior. Ooh, the best advice for sales leaders who are building teams, particularly if they are building them from scratch, is to make sure that you're setting folks up for success, which I understand sounds obvious, but it happens to be one of those easier said than done elements of team building, because so many folks that are in leadership roles have never had the privilege of being trained as leaders or as managers. So my call to action is acknowledge that you maybe have not been set up for success yourself, and to go outside of your organization if that's what it takes to find the courses, the certification, the resources, the mentorships, whatever it is, to gain the knowledge to then be able to pass on that greater opportunity for success to your team. So I made so many mistakes, just a really long list of mistakes. But one of the ones that is most painful is a $10,000 mistake. I know, $10,000, not a small sum of money for a startup, to send out a direct mail campaign. And the campaign itself was pretty cringy. It was more like a pamphlet, like a sales mailer pamphlet, very cringy in retrospect. And then our ask was that the recipients were going to tear out this postcard piece of it and fill it out and then send it back to us. So also a pretty high threshold on the call to action. So that was all bad. But then to make it even worse, the founder, who was an absentee founder, but by design, bought the list that we were going to send this mailer to. And I genuinely did not even think to question the quality of the list. I just assumed it was going to be great. It was not great. So I think we sent out 1,000. I think we got 23 back. if I remember. Not a great conversion rate, but we did get like 300 back that were undeliverable.
Oh,
So
man.
it was a big fail. But what did I learn from it? So just to never do that again. Like so many things. But honestly, what I learned from it, because I'm a huge fan of direct mail, particularly handwritten notes. Like handwritten, thoughtful mail has been something that I have used through my early 20s up to today, and it always works. It's a fail-safe technique to get in front of people and show them that they matter and that you care about reaching them where they're at. But I did learn that it's okay to test, even if you fail. Like really heroically fail. It was a learning lesson. It was 10 grand. That's not a small sum of money. It's not the greatest sum of money. But particularly in those early stage startup environments, sometimes the only way you can figure out what works is by testing it out. Just also make sure that you vet the quality of the list you buy. I was just listening to a song right before we started recording that I found on TikTok, the rabbit hole, but it's the sped up version of Collide, and it's a jam. Check it out on Spotify or, wherever you listen to music, not being sponsored by Spotify. So yeah, I love to hype myself up. One of my big rituals is that I start the day with a short meditation. And I think that sets me up for sort of balance and calm and perspective, and reminding myself to lean into gratitude throughout the day, even when things don't go in my favor. But yeah, I like to get hyped up. I mean, I work in my office, so I can be just a total nerd. Like I can get up and like dance to a song and jam out before I pick up the phone, and nobody is here to like watch me or judge me. So yeah, I like do awkward dances to straight. Sometimes like I scream sing Broadway hits. That's a fan favorite. So yeah, I do some weird things to get jazzed up for calls.